Thank you all for joining us. Happy to see you all tonight. Again, our topic is getting started with content marketing. I'm Jeremy. With me is Bree. We both are been with the company for some time now, and we're very happy to talk to you tonight. On to you, Bree.
Thank you, Jeremy. So as Scott and Jeremy mentioned, I am an account strategist here at Influence & Co. For those of you that don't know, we are a full service content marketing agency. We specialize in a variety of things, including content creation, distribution, and analytics. We do this, of course, to attract, engage, and nurture our clients' target audiences. And we are headquartered here in Columbia, Missouri. We've been around for quite some time now, almost a decade, I believe. So over the years, our service lines have changed quite a bit. We continue to add new things all the time. So we work with our clients on content ranging from guest contributed articles to public relations support for them. We work a lot on building up their on-site content, which can include blog posts, even designed pieces of content like white papers, infographics, and even case studies. And we also help them with their email marketing efforts, which would include weekly or monthly newsletters, drip campaigns. And we also have a digital marketing team who works with most of our clients on search engine optimization. So most of what we're doing for our clients is supported by SEO, and we'll go into that more detail a little bit later on. But that's a little bit about Influence & Co., about what we do. But really the main reason, as Jeremy said, we're here tonight is to talk to you guys about content marketing, how to get started with content marketing, and how it can work really well with an existing digital media strategy if you have one in place. So this slide here outlines exactly just that, how these two strategies overlap, how they can work seamlessly together. So we wanted to point out a few important things related to each of these. So you'll see here content marketing, again, focused on creating, publishing, and eventually distributing content for your desired target audience. It's used often to attract, educate, and nurture leads and hopefully convert them into potential customers. And those channels often include blogs, external articles, gated materials that are housed on your website behind a contact form, and even email marketing. Digital media, as we've heard Adonica say earlier, is anything you're interacting with through a screen. So those things are focused on providing solutions and value for your target audience online. It's also used to lead customers through the marketing funnel, and those channels can include things like landing pages, videos, apps, ebooks, and email marketing, as well as many different other channels as well. If you haven't connected the dots already, a lot of these things tend to overlap, right? So the main focus here is to reach that desired target audience, and we'll go into a little bit more detail on that later on. The main function of these is to, of course, engage leads and convert them into clients or customers for your business. And those channels often house a lot of content on your website and can also come into play in email marketing. So that's kind of the what. And now we want to move into the why. So we take a look at the current content marketing landscape and where things are at with various industries and businesses. So according to a 2020 report from the Content Marketing Institute, 42% of organizations surveyed say their content marketing would be considered sophisticated or mature. But of those, 88% who say they have top performing content strategy say it's because they prioritize their audience's needs over focusing on promotional messages. So you'll hear us say a couple times in this presentation that we are an audience first agency. And I think for any business looking to grow or create their content marketing strategy, that's important to remember. And then lastly, nearly half of those who have taken the time to create, plan, and execute a content marketing strategy have seen results. And as a result of that, plan to increase their budget going more toward content creation over the next year. So of these companies that have seen successful results, say they are more likely to consider themselves effective at content marketing when they've taken the time to plan. They feel less challenged when they go to execute this because, again, they have a documented plan and strategy in place that works with their existing strategies. They're more likely to consider themselves more effective within every marketing tactic that they have in place. Also, more effective via their social media channels, which can be used to push out this content that you're creating. And they're also able to justify a higher percentage of their marketing budget to be spent to go towards content marketing because they've seen those results. So those are some insights that we've seen across the board, across industries from our clients. And now I'm going to turn it over to Jeremy, who's going to walk us through where and how you should get started.
Okay, thank you, Bree. Let's see, when you begin developing a content strategy, very first, you must be thinking about, what are the goals you're looking to accomplish? And these goals that you're seeking to attain typically fall into one of three buckets. And those can be lead generation, thought leadership, or search engine optimization. And of course, you want to be considering how are these measured. With lead generation, you're often looking at average lead score or how you're ranking those prospects, click-through rate, or how many impressions are resulting in a click, your new visitor rate, or your lead conversions, which means how many visitors are captured as leads. When it comes to thought leadership, you're looking at metrics including social media shares, influencer mentions, which is increasingly valuable with the prevalence of TikTok or Instagram and other such social media platforms of note. You're also want to be considering content syndication or brand building opportunities. If you're looking to achieve a certain SEO goal, you'll be looking at keyword performance or search traffic or search visibility, all these various metrics that show how well those crucial keyword terms that pertain to your brand or to your message are ranking in search engine results, and whether they're cutting through and reaching your target audience. You're also want to be considering backlinks, whether, if you have a piece of external content that's been placed, how well the traffic is able to travel from that external piece back to your homepage or whatever your desired landing page might be. The key thing to keep in mind is you want these results to be measurable. You cannot just create content for the simple sake of creating content, because that's a waste of time and money, resources, and manpower. You need to be setting benchmarks that you're hoping to achieve. And if you don't hit those at a certain point in time, it might be the opportunity to begin adjusting your content strategy. What's important to remember is that content marketing is a long game. You're not going to see immediate results overnight. We often tell many of our partners and collaborators that it's all about building that tapestry of content in which all the various pieces feed off one another over time. What else you want to consider when you're developing a content marketing strategy is your target audience. It's known that digital and traditional marketing channels are overflowing with brands all competing for consumers' attention, and cutting through the noise requires a laser focus on your ideal buyers and speaking directly to their interests and needs. If you don't have this laser focus, you'll find it increasingly difficult to land the results you want. And the old days of just putting up a billboard or a full page ad in the daily newspaper may not suffice anymore. What you want is your content to be in front of the right eyes. And that's not necessarily the millions of eyes who you might be if you just put a message out on blast. You need to be precise with your targeting, and then ask yourself, some key questions about who it is you're trying to reach. What industry or industries do your ideal customers work in? What are the specific roles within the organization of these typical customers? Are they the CEO, the COO, the marketing director, the CFO? What are the common questions being asked by your customers? What are the pain points they're experiencing that you, as the business or the brand, what can you solve for them? What channels are those buyers engaging in? Are they attracted to blogs, to video content, to social media platforms, to referrals? How big or small are these companies that usually seek out your services? All these questions will help get you further along the path to where you want to be when you're trying to make that very precise, very targeted message at that right audience and narrow that down. And then finally, here I want to talk about the resources you need in terms of creating that content for a fully successful content strategy. It requires, if done really well, we believe it requires a certain number of teammates to be successful. First and foremost might be the content strategist, who is the person who is really the kind of driving the ship of ideating relevant topics that the audience would be seeking out and ensuring all that content works together in alignment with the overall strategy. Then there might be a writer or editor, which could be filled by one person, or might be a number of people filling those functions. This person is responsible for bringing those topics to life, creating consistent tone guidelines, and perfecting the brand voice. We find it valuable to have a designer, somebody who can visualize your brand's content and translate that message into something that's creative and visually engaging, whether it's a white paper or an infographic or some other kind of piece of visual content that will draw in those eyeballs that you want to reach. We also find it valuable to have somebody skilled at media relations, somebody who can develop those relationships with external media and get to distribute your brand's content and make sure your target audience is actually engaging and able to see those resources. And finally, we also see value in having somebody who is an SEO specialist, somebody who has a working knowledge of everything SEO, who has a real grasp on keyword rankings and competitor analytics, and is somebody who can provide informed recommendations to improve performance for that content strategy. And up next, Bree is going to talk about the kinds of content that are able to be created.
Thank you, Jeremy. So we've laid the foundation. We have established our goals, and we now have success metrics tied to those goals, what you need to be tracking to measure the success there. You know who you're talking to. You've identified your target audience by asking those key questions, and you've assembled that content crew, those people, whether it be internal at your company or an external partner, to execute on that content. And now it's time to start thinking about what content mix is right for me and my business. So we've broken those up into three main areas that you'll see here on this slide. You have offsite content, onsite content, and SEO as well. So starting at the top, offsite content often will obviously include those pieces that are outside of your website. So we work with a lot of clients on guest contributed articles. These are pieces that are authored by someone at your company, so, a subject matter expert who can speak to a specific topic that is relevant within your industry. Those pieces are then submitted and distributed to external outlets that your target audience is seeking out and reading. Public relations would also fall under the offsite content bucket. So this could be in the form of an interview that you're securing with a journalist. This could be, being featured on a podcast episode. This could be a reference in a Forbes article. Maybe your CEO is mentioned. You have a link back to your website. All of these third-party references in certain publications and outlets that go a long way in building thought leadership and brand awareness for you and your company. Then we talk about on-site content, which is extremely important when you're looking to just get started creating content. You want to make sure that you are building up a content library on your website so that when people get to your website, they can see that you're a credible source, that you have education and resources available for them to view and engage with. And this can be in the form of blog posts. I think we're all familiar with blog posts at this point. This could be pillar blog posts as well. These are longer pieces of content that are published to your blog. It's an opportunity for you to cover one specific topic in depth or several different similar topics. It also provides you a lot of linking opportunities. You can incorporate multiple CTAs within a pillar blog post, so it's a really great tool to have. And then we also would say gated content would be a large piece of the on-site content puzzle. If your goal is lead generation, you better have some gated content on your site, because these are those, again, more in-depth pieces of content. A lot of times, they have a design element, and you want your readers to kind of work for that piece of content by housing it behind a form so that it can be downloaded in exchange for their contact information to be used to place them into a communication track or email marketing campaign of some kind. And then lastly, SEO. While this may not be a tangible, specific piece of content that you're blasting out, all content you're creating now should be search engine optimized. And you should have some regular things you're doing to track this, including analytics reporting on a regular basis. So for certain pieces of content, we recommend a quarterly look at your website's performance, looking at traffic. Where is this traffic coming from? Is it referral? Is it organic? As well as keyword audits to take a look at what are those specific terms that your target audience is searching for over the last month or quarter, because that's going to be a forecasting tool for you when you look at, okay, what content should we focus on in the next quarter? So it's important to incorporate both of those things, both to take a look back and to be able to forecast future content. So how does this all work together? What's the right mix for me? You'll see our fun content marketing funnel here that we've put together for you, and how all of these different kinds of content are going to work together. So that offsite content really does a great job of working toward that thought leadership goal. And then you have on-site content, which does contribute to thought leadership, but also helps with engagement and eventually lead generation, especially with those gated pieces of content. And then eventually the goal, bringing them to the bottom of the funnel where they will seek out your services. They will contact you. They'll be nurtured by various campaigns, things like that. And you're converting them hopefully into new customers. And making sure this is all aligned is extremely important as well with that overall marketing strategy. And the volume, the ratios to which you're creating this content, all is going to depend on your goals, your capacity to produce content, and also your budget. What budget do you have to put toward this content creation? So now I'm going to throw it back to Jeremy to cover the digital content checklist that we put together for you all.
Okay, thank you, Bree. Again, thank you everybody for listening. This is just a very brief recap of all the topics we've covered here in this slideshow presentation. When we're working those content marketing strategies, it's again very crucial to be identifying your goals with that strategy. Is it thought leadership? Is it lead generation? Is it an SEO goal? It could be a combination of one or more of these things. You need to be thinking about your target audience, the specific industry you're trying to reach out into, the specific roles of those people that you want to create the content, and who you want to be seeing that content. What kind of problems are you solving for your target audience? How can you speak to those problems in an educational, enlightening way? You need to be thinking about your resource inventory. Do you have the right team in place? Do you have the necessary team members in place? What is your budget for executing on those content goals? And if not, do you have the means to enlist the aid of an external agency to facilitate that content strategy? And you need to consider your content mix. Is it on-site content, meaning, again, as we've discussed, those blog posts, gated content such as white papers or case studies or infographics? Is it off-site content, the external articles in third-party publications, or press mentions or publicity mentions, or third-party validation in off-site content? Finally, is it SEO research or keyword audits, so you can find ways to make sure that your content will pop up when people are searching the relevant terms pertaining to your industry? All of these things are pretty much what you must be considering, which day in and day out as you're considering a content marketing strategy, and try to find ways to appeal to those specific target audiences that you're wanting to make contact with and ultimately do business with. And with that, we are complete at the end of our presentation. And Bree and I thank you very much for your attention, and we'd love to take any questions if we can.
All right. Well, that was excellent. I especially love the checklist at the end, a great summary of what people need to really be thinking of. And you can type any questions you have in the chat, but I do have one or two direct ones. And that is, when you start to think about both you as well as Taya talked about the long game. So this is a long game of having content and growing that content. How do you deal with that? When you're first two things, I guess. One, in this kind of COVID crisis, we're sometimes changing our customers, changing what we're having to do. I'm no longer trying to bring people into my restaurant. I'm trying to get them to do delivery or something. Um, how have you been dealing with your clients? Have they had to pivot, or have you had to change things, or do you create an entirely new website and start from there, so you don't soil your existing blog with all this new stuff that's in a different direction?
Jeremy, you want to take that one?
Yeah, as far as the long game and thinking in that respect, we've had to pivot a number of ways. As you mentioned, with the pandemic going on, we've had to take that in consideration very much so with the sort of content that we're creating. A lot of third-party publications we deal with definitely want to see something that is timely because this pandemic is top of mind for everyone right now. It's affecting all sectors of industry, and so on that level, we are encouraged, and it's to our benefit to make sure that what we create is timely, is of the moment. But back to the long games element, yeah, you do want to make sure that it's something that you're creating on a client's website, a white paper, something to that effect. You do need to keep in mind that in theory, somebody could be reading that white paper for a year or 2 years to come. And so you can't make it too timely. Or otherwise, somebody in the year 2021 or beyond will read this and think, well, what good does this do me? And we do have just ongoing conversations with our clients about understanding that they're not going to see those results overnight, that it's a matter of building that credibility, building that thought leadership, of showing that when somebody is, if you're the widget maker and you want to be known as the premier widget maker in your industry, that when they start searching best widget makers or how to create the best widget makers, somebody will hopefully find a wealth of blog content or perhaps links to infographics or something to that effect that will demonstrate that the widget maker company is the premier voice on widget making, and therefore people will know, well, look at all this vast store of content here, and then I know that this is the widget maker I want to seek out. But content does not all come into being overnight. It takes time. And that's one way we talk about the long game, in terms of you have to really put in the time and the effort to make sure that you have built that, laid that foundation of content, and then built on it over time. It's a process. And we think most of our clients understand that, but others understandably get skittish, and they understand, well, we want to see results now. It's time is of the essence, but we try to stress upon them that no, it's a slow, steady marathon here that we're trying to accomplish.
So, question that also came in: can content marketing be applied to any business in any industry, or is it for certain size businesses, certain industries that are going to benefit more from this?
I will take that. I will take this one. It can apply to any company in any industry. You look at our client portfolio right now. We have a client who makes manual wheelchairs for the disabled. We have a client who's an influencer marketing agency. We have a client who's in the healthcare form electronic consent business. So we work with a range of industries and clients, and we write about a lot of different things with them. So I would be the first to say no. It's definitely, you can, any business, any industry can start creating content.
And so even like people that are motivational speakers, individual people, that's probably a good way to go, being that kind of out there in the forefront, being seen as an expert. So yeah, very good. Excellent.
Yes, one of my former clients from a couple of years back is a economics and a professor of entrepreneurship at Oklahoma State University, and we did quite a bit of content with him over 4 or 5 years. So yeah, again, it does not have to be somebody with a traditional business or any kind of B2B setup. It can be somebody who is simply trying to be a thought leader or be seen as an expert in their field.